Hey YouTube, it's time for another Volume Leaders market recap. So today, before we jump in, I want to talk about a little bit of new functionality. If you've logged into Volume Leaders recently, you probably noticed that we have a new page called Today's Highlights. So really what we're doing here is aggregating some of the most interesting and the largest trades by rank, relative size, dollar amounts, rarest trades, etc. These are for daily time periods and are updated in 1-minute intervals. So you can get the most up-to-date data as you look at this dashboard. So really worth checking out. Clicking any of these tickers will open you to the chart. And then you also have some different options here in terms of time frame that you want to jump into the chart on. One other thing to mention is the Volume Leaders Substack. So if you go to volumeleaders.substack.com, or if you log into Volume Leaders, you'll notice that there is a sign-up bar at the bottom of the page. And this is a great resource, a lot of really good information in here. The team that we have writing this has a wealth of expertise, a lot of experience trading and working in financial markets for many years. And you'll notice that we kind of start at a higher level, focusing on macro, different trends. You know, it's getting close to earnings season, so starting to talk about that. And then as you go down, we'll drill into the dollar index, we'll drill into indices, the SPY, QQQ, IWM, etc. And then finally, we will also call out some of the top institutional order flow. So go ahead and check it out. Great resource. I think you can generate a lot of ideas from this alone. And, you know, paired with Volume Leaders data, you should do very well. Now, jumping right into TQQQ. So this is the Ultra Pro QQQ, so a leveraged long position or leveraged bull index on QQQ. Obviously, this week, SPY and the Qs have not been doing that well. We can see there was a #1 ranked trade earlier this week, and the price has continued to resolve lower. Here we're looking at a 3-month time period. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit we'll do 30 days. So we can see here as price resolved higher, potentially a couple sells here. Maybe this was a buy. Price broke down. And then here, it's quite possible that this was someone who was forced to exit a position. We can see this resolution lower. Also notice the different volume shelves that we have. Price moved very quickly down through that gap. And then now potentially testing lows, potentially finding support. That remains to be seen. But I think some more information from the S&P. So this is the SPY. Very similar chart, although you can see this one has not broken below the most recent area of support. So high 540s, right around 550. And one thing to call out is this could potentially be forming a head and shoulders. So I think the thing here to watch is if support steps in, if buying steps in on this volume shelf right in the high 540s. Watching how price reacts there. If it moves lower, I think it has a good room to move down into the mid to low 530s. So keep an eye on that. The completion for this head and shoulders will be right around high 520s. All right, now we have the daily Midcap bull 3x. So again, a leveraged long contract on midcaps. So again, we can see a period of accumulation. We have a strong move up, and then we have a #1 here. Now, granted, this is a much more thinly traded index, but still, you know, looking for these trades that tend to come at relative highs and relative lows. So very shortly after that, we had this move down. Now here, I think the thing to watch, mid and small caps have obviously been doing very well over the last 2 weeks. So watching to see if price finds support here. Maybe this is just a back test before moving higher. But anything below the 50 level would start to get a little bit concerned that this was just a deviation. Now, Microsoft. Microsoft's been all over the news today, along with CrowdStrike. We're going to look at both of these. But suffice to say, the last 2 weeks have not been too kind to Microsoft. So we had this move higher. Again, you know, you can kind of see a similar setup to what we saw on the SPY and TQQQ with a potential head and shoulders. And, you know, this is completely broken through. Now, obviously, the outages today did not help. We had that move lower. But here, what's interesting, and something to call out is always kind of looking at these volume shelves, looking at prior price consolidation, and seeing how price reacts around that level. So here on the, what was this, around the 16th or so, it was holding at that level, breaks through, and then quite rapidly moves down. So keeping an eye on things like that, how price reacts at a level of support or resistance, breaking through, things like back tests are really good areas to get long or short depending on the trend. So now CrowdStrike, this chart obviously does not look good. Again, CrowdStrike was the main cause of the outage today. Globally, airlines down, different things like that. But what I think is interesting about this chart is, well, a couple things. So very clear period of distribution. You have some quite large rank trades here, failure to break and resolve higher. And then as soon as we begin to lose this volume shelf, you can see the first loss here. There's a back test and rejection, right? So back test, rejections, or on the upside, a back test to the downside, and then the hold of support. I think those are probably some of my favorite opportunities to get long or short because they confirm that trend shift, right? So here, this move down, obviously nobody could have anticipated this outage that was caused by a poor release. But with that said, what this looks like here is the potential for a head and shoulders. I think today with this move down, the low might be in. So what I would look for next week is potentially a revisit of this volume shelf right around 340 to 350. See how price reacts around there. If it can recapture and move higher, then maybe there's more room for upside. But if it can't get back above 350 or so, it's possible that this is going to start forming a right shoulder for further downside. Now, Nvidia, obviously Nvidia has been carrying the market all year. Quite a good looking chart here up until recently. So a couple of things to call out. This is actually very, very similar structure to what happened back in March. So we can see number 5 and 4 rank trade. Here we have 3 and 1 rank trade. We can see a bit of a double top forming back in March, and then price came back to retest this number 5 trade. And then found support, moved back through this volume shelf, and then continued higher. Now what we have is a very similar structure with these rank trades. We can see a double top, this time with a slightly lower high, whereas before it was a slightly higher high. Less volume stepping in this time than was present before, so price moving higher on lower volume. Generally not a great sign for continuation. But I also don't know that I would short this right at this moment. I think that we need to kind of wait and see whether this low here, potential for a double bottom, whether that holds. If it does not, we could look for something similar where we have this back test of this other rank trade lower. So that would be coming back to test this 3 right at $109, $110. Now, if that were to fail, if that level fails, I think that that there could be quite a strong move down to 100 or even 95, testing this old volume shelf. So this one I think is kind of in a no trade zone right now, but it could be setting up for something substantive. Obviously, wanting to get long again, I would say it needs to start moving back up above this this number 1 rank trade to feel comfortable getting long. So that would be 126, 127, right around that level. All right, now we have Starbucks. So this is the 1-year chart. I just want to call this one out because Starbucks has not had a very good year, and there has been some interesting activity recently off of what looks like a potential double bottom. Quite a strong reaction this week, quite a strong move up, and I would think potentially on this volume profile peak over here right at 80, potentially find some resistance, but get above 80, and there's definitely a possibility that it could try and close this gap all the way back up to 90 or thereabouts. So interesting chart, worth keeping an eye on. Double bottoms on higher time frames like this, as well as double tops, are always notable. And then we have when you have volume stepping in, it's also interesting too. All right, and now we have Riot, a Bitcoin miner. So this one, I just wanted to call out, well, a couple things. So this one, shorter time frame, looking at this week, really, I think it's a good example of where and how to use volume leaders. So we can see these ranked trades for the most part at relative highs and relative lows. Here we can see that price is trending up. This is probably a buy, gap up, continue. Hard to say what this one is, but price continues to trend. And then we see a period of distribution where this one most likely was a sell, probably also this one. And then we have this move lower, probably a buy, and then a move higher. This kind of looks like a cup and handle. Bitcoin's doing really well this week. So potentially this goes back up and retests its high, right? Just shy of 13. And then if we zoom out a little bit to the 90-day, all right, so moving back out to the 90-day, we can see a period of, or a cluster of trades coming in at the lows. We can see that this is a double bottom and then move higher. There really hasn't been too much large activity recently, but I think that this is a great example of what to look for in volume leaders, right? So periods of consolidation where you begin to see clusters of buying at the lows or the highs and using those as indicators for levels where price might have a hard time getting back above or below. All right, and then we have KBE, which is a bank ETF. This one I think interesting as well because very clear signs of topping. Most of these are dark pool blocks or sweeps, and you know, we can see this cluster, a 3-rank trade, then 47 and 18. Let's zoom in a little bit here. All right, so kind of similar picture here. One could say potentially this is a bull flag. I think really looking at the volume shelf here, losing the 52 level would potentially lead to a move back down to 49, 50, thereabouts, maybe closing some of these gaps. So an interesting one. I think, you know, a potential long if it can get back above this volume shelf, above 53. And potentially shorts below 52. Now moving into the energy space, we have Boyle, which is a leverage long on a natural gas. Here we can see a 33 rank trade happened 2 days ago, and what clearly looks like a period of bottoming. Again, period of distribution up here. We have what look to be multiple sells. And then this move lower, buys starting to step in. And what's interesting is we have the inverse, which is cold, so ultra short Bloomberg natural gas. And here we can see a very, very similar story where most likely getting sells here at these highs. So this resolves lower, Boyle natural gas resolve higher. I think first level is again to look at these volume shelves, potentially 14, maybe 15 or so. Maybe you'd watch for a pullback, see if there's a double bottom to confirm a higher resolution in a trend for a little while. Then finally, we have KWEB. So this is Crane Shares China ETF. And this one's interesting, I think, for a couple reasons, right? So China's kind of been in a period of consolidation and chop, really for a lot of this year. And we have a couple potential scenarios here. So we obviously had a number 3 ranked trade recently, which is substantive. And then we have a potential double bottom setting here. Or if we lose this prior area of support right at $26, $27, then we could be looking at a move back down to retest 25, this most recent ranked trade, as well as this kind of, these cluster of trades right here. So probably what I would do on this one is continue to pay attention, see if this starts to form a double bottom, starts moving up, wait for confirmation, and then potentially long for a retest of these highs where these the 25 and 53 ranked trades were. But then on a break below this level, then potentially look at shorts or wait to get long at a lower level for a move higher. So that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or have any requests for the next video, feel free to leave them in the comments. Have a good one.